Hello YouTube, Redbird here, back with another New World video. Today we are going to talk about the Rapier Ice Gauntlet build, the most potent DPS build in New World, how to operate it, your mastery trees, your perks, all of the above. We're going to go through everything you need to know to learn this build as a beginner or to master it as an expert. Let's hop right in here. First and foremost, let's look at the attribute split. So we're doing 250, 250, 100. Now, the primary reason we're doing this is to pick up on the 30% duration to apply damage over time effects. This is pretty important for the overall build, as we will be consuming bleed stacks from the Rapier with, of course, the artifact finisher, as well as Tandu and Flourish and Finish. So we're using the whole bleed stack here, a little bit untraditionally. I know a lot of builds use Flurry. We're going to talk more about that here in a bit. But so you'll do 250, 250, 100 con. There really isn't a lot of give here. This is supposed to be the primary DPS build in the group. You only need one of these, or you should only be using one of these setups in each group in an expedition. You don't need everybody in the DPS, and actually you don't want everybody for DPS to run this build because it is primarily DPS. There isn't any utility for your group, and utility is important. CC and grouping of mobs speeds up time for your runs. They increase DPS of this build. So my recommendation, is just one of these is typically enough in this build. It's a lot of damage, but also not great as a group composition to have 3 of these. So I just wanted to throw that in there as a little nugget. All right, so here's our Ice Gauntlet build. This is the back bar of this build, but you do start every rotation on it. It will be Ice Storm, Ice Spike, and Ice Pylon. Now, the reason we go for Spike over Shower here, which is another popular choice, is Spike just does more damage for burst before you swap weapons. Ice Shower with Deadly Shower does deal damage, but typically the Ice Shower is mostly for like rooting or rending your targets, and like I said earlier in the video, we want some spears and warhammers in each group to apply those max stack of rends, and for that reason, I mean, Ice Shower really isn't necessary, and again, this is the primary DPS of your 5-man group. So we're going all out for this build, high DPS all the time. We'll utilize or rely on our other teammates, such as tanks, healers, or even other DPS or utility DPS players to apply all the debuffs to the targets. And we're just going all in. So the quick rotation for the Ice Gauntlet, we're going to talk more about this later, is lay down Ice Storm, lay down Ice Pylon in the group for Pylon Burst, a weapon perk we're going to talk a little bit later about. And then you Ice Spike, dodge, and then you swap weapons. The dodge is just simply to get it the benefit of Pylon dodge. So for Rapier, we are going to be using, of course, Flourish and Finish and Tondo, this little stack here for bleeds and consumption of bleeds. And then we are using Evade as the third tree. Now, a lot of other builds use Flurry. I tested this out personally a lot. And the builds are very similar in time. I use the right, for anybody that wants like a full reference, I use the right test dummy when you're staring at the test dummies in the Everfall Fort. And I did rotations until the dummy was invincible, from full health to invincible. And this particular build was finishing about 5 to 10 seconds before the Flurry build. And I know it's not a lot, that each one took like 1 minute 25 seconds. The other one took 1 minute 35 seconds. I did it till I got pretty clean rotations. Obviously, there's going to be some error, a little bit of error in there. But overall, this finishes slightly ahead of that build. And I will say that Evade adds a lot of defensive utility by giving you momentary invulnerability every time you use Evade, which you're basically spamming Evade. I'll show you the rotation later, but invulnerability is good for survivability, especially if you're going to be running 100 con, and it gives you a ton of other benefits, such as cooldown reduction. You get 30% here. Individual successful light attacks reduce the cooldown of the ability for 30 seconds. You get your evade forward, which will be using omnidirectional evade. Gives you 15% increased damage. You also get to move down here for critical strike, reduction cooldowns, and 10% damage while you're at full health, which, again, you'll be using evade for vulnerability. You're going to be at full health a lot. This setup, along with omnidirectional evade, to me provides a better defensive position and still does just slightly better DPS. I know you don't get Leeching Flurry, but invulnerability is better here. And again, the rotation is just a little bit cleaner because you're getting a ton of your damage, not just from your combination here, but also from light attacking after evading with omnidirectional evade in this perk. So this is the setup. We'll go through the rotation. It's really easy. There is some animation cancel here as well, which also improves the DPS slightly, but the animation canceling is super easy. It's just ability spam, and most people can do it. Now, for the equipment side of things, I'm going to bring up the guide here. I will be linking this again in the the video notes. So don't forget to check down there. This is content over on studioloot.com. And so basically for this build, we're using light, of course. The perks for your purple gear, which I know no one uses anymore, but we'll just say the basic 10 perks that you want is omnidirectional evade on your armor. You want pylon burst on your armor. You want empowered ice spike on your armor. Then you want 5 health and then 2 refreshing. We're gonna get the other 2 refreshing from our jewelry just because there's not many other options there for DPS. And for the BIS gear, you'll be looking for ice harnessing ×5, just to give your punch, your actual, like, more punch to your ice gauntlet abilities. And we'll be using an ice gem in the rapier for a DPS as well. So it gives you just a slight boost to damage. But hey, man, we're trying to be the best. You know what I'm saying? We're not shooting for under the bar. So we're using ice harnessing here as the 5th perk on all your armor. So jewelry is a little bit more complicated before we go into weapons. And this is just basically, if you played New World before the expansion, and it remains to be the same, we all are shooting for amulets with damage protection perks. So like if you're running into like an ice mutation, you want ice protection or frost protection, and so on and so forth, right? So that the jewelry switches from mutation to mutation if you're doing mutations. If you're not doing mutations, it's not very important. But it's just most of the DPS that we're doing, obviously in 5-man groups, is in mutation. So the jewelry, this allows you to run opals in all your other armor and jewelry if you can, and just provides a better overall protection for your character, especially in mutations or dungeons where there's other sources of elemental damage. It doesn't leave you weak. And we have more on a guide in that as well. I can do a separate video if you guys want. Let me know in the comments below if you want a separate video to kind of refresh about the amulet and the opal strats. So that's pretty standard there. Ring, we're going ice damage and refreshing. That's where we're getting our 2nd refreshing perk from. And then we're doing hardy as the 3rd perk. Now, you're going to be able to find a ring with this relatively easy, I think. If you'd rather have the hardy then you can switch out divine on your amulet for refreshing. If you're having trouble getting ice damage refreshing hardy, you could just switch out divine and put your 4th refreshing up there. But the refreshings are important. You don't want to skip out on those as well. But it is, like, obviously we'll be using evade a lot, so hardy doesn't necessarily get utilized a ton, but it is kind of a staple in every New World build. So I understand, like, you kind of crutch on hardy a little bit. You can't dodge without it safely. You don't want to stam yourself. So yeah, if you need hardy, like absolutely need hardy, and can't find a ring with 3 perks, then just slap it on your amulet and skip out on divine. It's just a little bit of excess incoming healing. Like I said, hopefully you won't need it with the evade spam, but there's that. Earrings, we're doing refreshing toast, refreshing, and then empowering toast. Earring perks are not, again, not entirely beneficial to PvE stuff. Like a lot of the ring and earring perks that we all look for and search for are typically more important in PvP. So I put another refreshing here. So refreshing toast, refreshing gives you a little bit more potions, and then obviously a little bit of extra empowerment here on an empowering toast, if you can get it. So there, the weapons for the rapier, obviously we're using the finisher. These artifacts here, you know, they're accessible. They may take a little bit of farming, but if it's worth it to get this rapier, because it adds not only 2 of the weapon perks on the weapon, which increases your damage significantly, but you get the finisher harmony perk, which is attacks against bleeding targets get 15% more damage and reduced flourishes cooldown by 5%. This allows the whole rotation or the build to work. It's a ton of DPS. It's a fantastic weapon. If you don't have it, you need to farm for it. We have an article up on studioloot.com as well. I'll link that as well. Shameless self-plugging in the video, but I'll link that below, and that will tell you where to get every artifact. But this one is found in the Savage, or not the Savage Divide. This is found in the new zone, Elysium Wilds. If you go to the article down below, it will show you exactly where to get it, what boss drops it, and all that stuff. For the Ice Gauntlet, we're doing Unending Thaw, Keenly Jagged, and Keen. This third perk is very optional here. You know, it's hard to kind of find something on a back bar weapon that is impactful. That's why we go with Keenly Jagged. The bleed stays on. It does not get consumed by the rapier, but it is a little bit of extra damage because we're not spending a ton of time on our Ice Gauntlet here. So we're just basically, I'll show you the rotation later on in the video, but we're just laying down the abilities and swapping to rapier, spending like a 90% or more of our time on the rapier. So those are again the passive, Keenly Jagged, and then more reliability on proccing the Keenly Jagged before you swap over to your back bar. So let's go right in here let's just hit this. We did talk about gems a little bit in the armor. You're going to be running opals and weapons. You're doing rune glass in the Ice Gauntlet. You're doing rune glass of frozen opal. It's just because you kind of dodge on your back bar a little bit. It helps you keep the damage up there. And then we swap over to rapier, and then you're using rune glass of frozen aquamarine for the added Ice Gauntlet damage. Now, here's a little bit of a caveat. Unless you're rich, which now with the current economy, I don't think anybody is. You could swap out, like if you do Angry Earth, you could swap this gem out for fire. And if you're really gutsy, you can swap it out for fire with fire ring, and then all fire, you know, encased gems, or like burning gems, or whatever they're called. It's not necessary per se. With each dungeon is going to increase your damage. Yeah, it is going to, but it gets expensive to switch out rune glass gems. I mean, you could simply just tier, like for instance, against Angry Earth, you could just put a ruby in the rapier and then run a fire ring, and your damage is probably going to increase, or it is going to increase, but it's going to be slightly. And is it worth it to swap out your rune glass gems every week? I don't think so. So it's just a thing to know with your rapier gem in there. Can you get more damage out of it? Yes. Is it worth it all the time to do so? No. On the 30% increases to mobs, like Angry Earth and Fire, it probably is going to give you a pretty decent boost. But that's kind of up to you if you want to switch to that or not. You can find all the enemy types for our enemy weakness guide, which is linked in this guide as well. I know, this is a Studio Loop video, guys. Okay, give me a break here for a second. But yeah, so there's a guide there for, well, if you're looking for those different weaknesses and stuff. Like I said, for 15%, definitely not worth switching, because no one is immune to ice damage now with those changes. But you could pump a little bit more damage if you swap like on some mob types. So just keep that in mind. Read this guide here. It's a really good asset. It's a really good asset to any New World player. So I definitely recommend checking that out. And then jewelry, again, if you can run a ring or if you can run an opal in your earrings or rings, or even a malachite, do that for sure. If you can't swap it, it's not a big deal. Diamonds, onyx, it's all fine. Like, it's going to mitigate some damage for you. So the Heart Room gem, obviously no debating here. Brutal Heart Room of Detonate. It's just still broken. It's still the best DPS. It's DPS Heart Gem in the game. Passive damage, lots of it. With our bleeds and all of our abilities, we're proccing this bad boy often. It's a significant increase to DPS. And again, we are the primary DPS, or this build is the primary DPS in the group. So you want to pump damage, and that rune gem is by far the best way to do it. All right, so let's take a look at the rotation here. This is the most important thing, I think, because what a lot of people have questions about when they're over there on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/redbird. I mean, are we counting? Should we start a counter on plugging? I'm gonna try to set the record here. Go watch me on Twitch, guys. Go follow me on Twitch. Anyways. The Ice Gauntlet Rapier build, again, is pure DPS. A lot of that passive damage on your Ice Gauntlet, and then you pair it with the elite single target and burst damage of the Rapier. Fantastic combination. Here's what the rotation looks like, and I practice this a lot. It might take you just a little bit to get the hang of it, especially the animation cancel on the Rapier. But it's pretty straightforward. I'm going to try to run a lot of footage here as I'm talking about this so you can kind of watch it or visualize the rotation as well. But first and foremost, you cast Ice Storm, you run into Ice Storm, you cast Ice Pylon, and then you Ice Spike, and then you dodge. Now what this does is it procs, again, the dodge perk and the Ice Pylon causes the fire a little bit faster and gets you ready to ramp into your Rapier damage. Now this is the primary rotation, and again, there's a little bit of animation canceling, but it's nothing that anybody's gonna have trouble with, I guarantee you. It's basically, you're gonna start off with your bleed, Tondo, then you immediately evade, and you can actually just completely cancel the back end of the Tondo animation with evade, and then you slightly light attack twice. This will immediately pull evade back up. So the rotation so far is Tondo, evade, double light attack, and then you'll evade again, double light attack. They're really quick, rapid attacks, so you'll be doing them faster because of evade. Also, you'll be doing a lot of damage because of evade and omnidirectional evade. And so you'll do that 3 times. So you'll Tondo, evade, light attack 2 times, evade, light attack 2 times, Tondo, evade, light attack 2. So it's very fast. Like, you can tell in the video, it's almost instantaneous. You're basically like, Tondoing evade, and then before you know it, you're evading, and then you're evading Tondo evade. Like, it's just really fast. And the better you get at it, the more you do this, the easier it becomes. You'll do that to stack 3 times or 3 bleeds to get the full effect of him. Then you flourish and finish, and you'll immediately be able to Tondo evade again. It's real fast, real easy. You will get the hang of it relatively quickly. The animation canceling with Tondo and evade is seamless. You almost cancel like 75% of the animation on Tondo. And one of the things that's great about this too is the fact that you're proccing the damage bonuses of evade and omnidirectional evade every time you do this. So it's a lot of damage. You're consuming your bleed stacks very frequently, even by stacking 3 stacks of bleed. And it's a very smooth rotation. The only time that you swap back, and this is important, the only time you're going to swap back off your Rapier to drop your rotation is after you've consumed with Flourish and Finish, and when all your Ice Gauntlet abilities up. You don't want to swap over when Ice Pylon's still on cooldown. You need to make sure all 3 are up. Then, or if there's a break in the fight, like some sort of boss mechanic that has a pause, you always open back up with Ice Storm, Ice Pylon, Ice Spike. Make sure you're laying the Ice Pylon really close to mob groups, in the middle of mob groups if you can, or right next to a boss, because we have the Pylon Burst perk that's doing AoE damage to mobs as well, along with the Pylon, and then of course your Ice Storm as well. And that's about it, guys. That's the entire build. Again, there'll probably be some questions about the build. Make sure to leave those in the comments below. You can also, again, come find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/redbird for any questions. Guys, we have a big partnership coming up. I just want to warn you, on November 20th, at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. Our first campaign with gamer subs will go live. You can use code STUDIOLOOT at checkout, and you can get free shipping for 24 hours. So basically, they have free samples there as well. So just get free samples, use free shipping. You can try their product for free. It's a fantastic deal. They've been very kind to us over here at Studio Loot to partner with us. And we definitely want to show them some love and get you some free stuff as well. So again, November 20th, that is a Monday at 8 a.m. CST. Go over to GamerSup's website. I'll try to link that in the video as well. And you can use our code at checkout for free shipping. You can select the free sampler, and you get the free sample for free shipping and get to try out their stuff for free. So it's sick for everybody. And special thank you to them for sponsoring Studio Loot. We greatly appreciate that. Again, guys, thanks for watching. I love doing these videos. I know that a lot of people ask me questions about these things, so it's always good to get it both in written form and in video form. So here it is. You have the guide over at studioloot.com and the video here. If you have questions, you can come ask me on Twitch. I'm live Tuesday, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and sometimes Friday afternoon as well. Thanks for watching, guys. Really appreciate it. We'll see you in the next video.